Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, April 15th, and I'm your host, Brian Boudreau. It's great to have you with us as we end another week here in Norwood. Last week, the Norwood Public Schools released a statement to families regarding an incident at the Coakley Middle School. The press release stated, on Friday, April 1st, the Coakley Middle School administration was made aware of an incident in which students reportedly consumed candy, which was later determined to be marijuana edibles while on school property. According to the statement, a subsequent investigation into the matter was launched by the NPS and the Norwood Police Department. The press release continued. Through their investigation, the district learned that a student brought a chocolate bar laced with marijuana into the school. After lunch, the student shared this candy bar with several students, and at least one of these students gave out the candy to others without identifying the candy as a drug-laced edible. For parents and students with questions or seeking additional support, Impact Norwood is a community resource focused on substance abuse prevention. You can learn more at their website, impactnorwood.org. The Little Mustangs have been enjoying their new corral. This week, the Little Mustangs Preschool Academy dedicated their new playground, Carol's Corral, in the honor of Carol Poirier. Carol was a part of the Norwood schools for 53 years. She started out as a classroom teacher, was head of the English language learners and Title I programs, and had a knack for writing grants. Carol loved Norwood's youngest students. This beautiful playground is a great way to honor her memory and highlight her work with children.
Well, about 4 years ago, Little Mustangs moved from the Willett Early Childhood Center to the Savage Building. There was no playground in sight, and Carol Poirier was instrumental in helping to articulate and envision a playground for our youngest learners and students. Well, when you see happy faces playing, joining, it's a wonderful sight for a principal and educator and as a parent, and so much education and learning takes place through play. Communications, social dynamics, peer interactions, playing with others is just so important to a student's growth.
The ceremony was attended by Norwood Public Schools administrative and teaching staff, preschool students, and members of Carol's family.
I don't know how to put it into words, but I appreciate everything everyone did, every step that was taken to bring joy to the kids. I know my mother would have absolutely loved this. This is exactly what she would have wanted. Play is so important in a child's development, so this is perfect. It's fun, but they're still learning too. To have it named after my mom is just amazing to me, and her legacy still lives on even years later, and that's awesome that Norwood, remembers her.
The Little Mustangs are excited to make memories in their new corral. Stay tuned after this break for highlights from the Norwood 101 event and Student Government Day.
Hello, I am Mary Foley. You are watching Norwood Community Media, your home for all things Norwood.
Welcome back. Norwood 101 is an opportunity for residents to get to know local organizations. Once a year, all are invited to the library for a meet and greet style evening with groups like the Ecumenical Food Pantry, the Norwood Evening Garden Club, the Women's Business Network, and more. Norwood 101 Chair Patty Bailey shares why she created this networking event.
So Norwood 101 is a new resident program that we hold here at the library once a year, usually in the spring in the month of April. And what we do is we have a sort of an informational fair that for the evening, which we bring together local nonprofits, we bring together town departments, as well as our library departments to highlight our library as well. So basically, folks come in, they walk around, meet new people, take a chance on winning a few raffle prizes, and it's just a great networking evening for folks.
Library Director Clayton Cheever enjoyed his first Norwood 101 since coming to Norwood last year.
So we are so grateful to be able to do this once again. This is actually my very first Norwood 101. I've been here just over a year, but as everybody is aware, we've been really struggling with the pandemic, and as we are in this, hopefully we're coming out of it, or at least a lull as we're all dealing with it. It's just so special to be able to bring people together and celebrate being together in space. We've been all so isolated, so this is an opportunity both for us to see each other who are working in town and working to serve the community, and an opportunity for all the people who've moved to Norwood or who are just kind of getting their bearings to get bearings in a real way with each other. So it's one thing to be reading on websites about what's happening, to read newsletters, to read their paper. It's another thing altogether when we get to have conversations face to face and get to know our neighbors and the people that are working here.
At Norwood High School, the traditional Student Government Day was held this week. Students shadow town department heads and learn how the town operates. There is also a mock town meeting run by students and assisted by town manager Tony Mizuko and new town meeting moderator Jerry Slater. Students had $2,000 of real money to spend, and NHS junior John Kavanaugh learned how different town groups can work together to come to a decision.
It was a lot to learn about the type of compromises that they have to go through, all the motions and counter motions that occur every meeting. There was a certain point in time we had a lot of debate about certain aspects of the budget, and so we got to take a recess, which I heard was a real thing they do all the time, where the Finance Commission and the Selectmen meet together. And when they did this, we kind of we had a little meeting about the budget and kind of set up an official amendment to the budget and came up with a better plan for it. And then once we did that, it was a lot easier to pull together and get a vote for it instead of what we previously had.
Jerry Slater hopes that Student Government Day sparks the students' interest in volunteering and getting involved in town government.
Pretty exciting today. I think the kids really learn about how town meeting is run, the debate, and what's important about compromise. It was a really lively group today, and they knew what they wanted, but they also in the end worked out a compromise and saw what how town meeting really operates. We spent a fair amount of time talking about a $30 budget item, which really replicates town meeting and how it operates. I hope the kids take away a passion for volunteerism, getting involved, and for town government and the importance of it. I know, today as the new town moderator, it's something I certainly feel, but having watched my son participate in Student Government Day, it gave him an absolute thirst for more and for getting involved in town government and really staying involved. So that would be my hope as a takeaway for today, that this really starts a passion in our students, and they take it back to the school and maybe take it on to their eventual careers and in their lives.
The student town meeting voted to spend the $2,000, and here's the breakdown. $1,000 for the Gift of Warmth Fund, $200 in tickets for seniors to attend a 150th celebration, $300 for the Norwood Animal Shelter, and $500 for Impact Norwood. Wednesday afternoon, just after 6 o'clock, Engine 5, along with Norwood Police, were dispatched to Engelmore Lane for a report of a car fire. On arrival, crews were met with a well-involved vehicle that had spread to an adjacent car and was threatening several others. Firefighters were able to quickly bring the flames under control before they extended any further. They operated on scene for about 45 minutes, ensuring the fire was fully extinguished before returning to service. There were no injuries reported, but both vehicles were a total loss. Now we'll toss it over to Dory Theos for the latest in-school news.
Hi guys, I'm Dory Theos, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. In Norwood High School news, congratulations to the Student of the Month, Shelby Francis and Aaron Reed. Recently, at the Coakley Middle School, the Friendship Club helped to make a no-sew blanket that will be donated to a local animal shelter. This is a great example of inclusion and community service. Nice job, CMS. Author Jarrett Lerner visited the Balch School on Wednesday, April 13th. Assemblies were held for grades 3 through 5 and then 1 and 2. Jarrett talked to students about his inspiration for writing and the fact that he's been writing books since he was in grade school. Mr. Lerner then held more specific workshops throughout the day for students in grades 3 and 4. Jarrett took time to show students how he develops his illustrations and engages students in writing process. Mr. Lerner told kids to create characters, describe what the character wants, tell what obstacles might get in the character's way, and then how they overcome these obstacles, and that equals a story. He showed them a simple story chain. Jarrett explained that the details you add are like sprinkles, whipped cream, and cherries on ice cream sundaes, making a delicious ice cream even better. Some of Jarrett's books are Engine Nerds, Fiction Trilogy, Giger the Robot Jr. Fiction Series, and the graphic novel Hunger Heroes. Jarrett both wrote and illustrated his graphic novel, Hunger Heroes, Missed Meal Mayhem, and has a second Hunger Hero title coming out this summer, Snack Cabinet Sabotage. A huge thank you to the Balch PTO and Norwood Cultural Council for bringing Jarrett Lerner to the school. At this time, the Balch Library has 4 of Jarrett Lerner's titles for students to check out, which Jarrett was nice enough to autograph during his visit. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and at the Callahan School, these students wore rainbow colors to support autism awareness. Also at the Callahan, UMass Lowell interns came to provide a demonstration to our 5th graders. The interns are under the Food Service Department and have worked along this month's theme of Waste Warrior, focused on food waste and how we can combat it. The demonstration was held in the cafeteria at the Callahan. Pita pizzas were described as a way for students to learn about how to combat food waste. The discussion involved how dinner leftovers can be used as pizzas the next day with leftover vegetables, meat, and bread products like pita bread. The students enjoyed the sampling of the pizzas after the discussion and gave 2 thumbs up to their afternoon snack. It was the crazy hat backwards inside out day at Cleveland School during Inclusion Week. This highlights that everyone is unique and a part of the community. Let's take a look. Well, that's it for school news. There's something interesting happening in our classrooms and schools every day, and thanks to all the educators who share their news with us. Now let's send it over to Mike Maloof with the latest in Norwood sports.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Update. The girls lacrosse team ended last week on a high note, getting their 2nd win in a row, this time coming against Sharon. The girls got out to an early lead and never looked back, winning the game 17-7. We had a chance to talk to sophomore Olivia Lodge after the game.
I think we played very well. I think we moved the ball very well. Obviously we did, Jenna Nauman was able to place the ball like directly in my stick where it needed to be, and I was able to get down. We moved the ball very well. We set up offense, and I think defense did a great job. When we were down a player, I think defense did a great job of just talking and staying together and doing well. I think this helps us a lot. It builds confidence, and it also it shows us as a team that we work well as a team, and that for teams that are like going to be at a higher level, we can hang with them. We might not win, but we can still hang with them, and we can do very well, and we work well as a team, so it helps a lot.
The girls rounded out the rest of the week by dropping 2 contests to some of the best teams in the state. Monday they lost to Medfield 19-5, and then Wednesday they lost to Holliston 19-6. Both tennis teams were in action for 2 matches this week. The boys lost 4-1 against Westwood and then 5-0 against Hopkinton. The girls dropped both matches 5-0 in straight sets against Westwood and Hopkinton. The boys and girls outdoor track teams both took on Hopkinton. The girls lost 124-12 while the boys lost 114-18. Boys volleyball had a busy week with 3 matches starting on Monday with a 3-1 loss against King Philip. Then they had back-to-back games on Wednesday and Thursday with a 3-0 loss to Bellingham and a 3-1 loss against Millis. Softball split their games this week, starting with a 3-2 win against Westwood, and then on Wednesday they dropped a 7-4 loss against Hopkinton. baseball had two tough matchups this week. First, taking on Westwood on Monday. It was close for a majority of the game until Westwood knocked in 3 runs in the 6th inning to eventually take the 7-3 win. Then on Thursday, the offense was left off the board with a 1-0 loss against Hopkinton. And finally, the Norwood Dedham boys lacrosse co-op, known as Deadwood, had 2 matchups this week. Monday, they lost 12-5 to a strong Medway team, and then on Wednesday, they bounced back, led by the sharpshooting of Eddie Carroll, to top Bellingham 11-5. We will feature more on this co-op team next week. Well, that's all for sports. Make sure to follow us on social media and watch the Bulletin Board channel for broadcast updates. Brian, back to you.
Thanks, Mike. The Planning Board opened Monday night's meeting by reorganizing the board. The new nominations were as follows: Ernie Pachakowski as chair, Brian Hatchie as vice chair, and Robert Bamber as clerk. The first hearing was a continued public hearing for a major project special permit and site plan review for 596 Boston Providence Highway. Following the hearing, the board discussed a special permit for signage at the same location. The final hearing of the meeting was a continued hearing for a definitive subdivision plan at 295 Dean Street. The next meeting for the Planning Board will be April 25th. Also Monday, the Middle School Building Committee met for the first time following last week's positive vote. Justin Tebow of AI3 started the meeting with a project update and timeline update. Following Tebow, Brian Jarvis of Compass Project Management presented the contract for project management services. The next Middle School Building Committee will be on May 2nd. Tuesday was a busy day in government, starting with the Board of Health in the morning. The Board of Health met with their new Community Resource Specialist, Deirdre Carney. The board also met with Kerry McKay and Connor Bronson, both of whom are Regional Public Health Associates. Health Director Stacy Lane provided a COVID-19 update and promoted Household Hazardous Waste Day, which will take place this year on May 7th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., so mark your calendars. Ms. Lane also informed the board that they have started a public health nurse search after receiving resignation from current health nurse Nick Crowninshield. The Board of Health will meet again next month. The Board of Selectmen held a joint meeting with the Planning Board on Tuesday night. The two boards had decided to meet after learning of new legislation coming down from the state level that would enforce new affordable housing zoning on cities and towns that have MBTA service. Planning and Economic Development Director Paul Halkiotis and Assistant Town Planner Sarah Dixon Bouchard presented a PowerPoint highlighting key areas of the upcoming zoning changes that would take effect in 2023.
Housing near train stations, which Norwood has 3, and it's kind of a moving target at this point, where the state has kind of set some guidelines, but there's been a lot of pushback by a lot of the towns that are involved, and they're rethinking some of it.
And communities like Norwood's, where we already have a fair number of multi-housing units, and we've already identified areas in town where multifamily housing is a permitted use, where it already exists. We're more fully built out. They say very specifically that we may not see anything close to that unit count. It's really a hypothetical exercise, a build-out calculation that ensures that the district that we create and the requirements within it are reasonable.
The Board of Selectmen Chairman Bill Plasko, who has a background in public housing, expressed his dissatisfaction with how this was passed down to local communities.
It makes me so upset. The legislation, or the guidelines, before we even get to the legislation, full of inconsistencies and contradictions, and having worked with DHED for 39 years, I'm not surprised. But hopefully they will find a way to correct it by the summer when you get clearer guidelines and ones that make sense. I mean, it makes no sense that they want to call us a bus community, but we have to put these housing units or the zoning within a certain area of train stations that they say we don't have. Because if we had train stations, we'd be a commuter town. So none of it makes any sense. It's just ridiculous. And I read the paper last week, the local paper, the Norwood Record, in the coverage with Chapper and Ms. Heller, and I was so furious when I read that. The way they insult our intelligence, as if this is a tool for the community. This is a mandate on the community. They tell us what we will have, where we will have it, whether we want it or not. They talk about 70,000 housing units, affordable housing units being built across the Commonwealth thanks to 40B. That's what this is, an end round around 40B. Because 40B is getting caught up on, the communities are getting there, and communities like ourselves getting to 1.5%, and they're trying to find another way to get around it, which is fine. I'm not personally opposed to more affordable housing. We've talked about creating some, so I'm not opposed to that. It's the methods and the manners in which they do this and how they try to shove it down the community's throats.
NCM will continue to bring more info on this zoning change as it becomes available. The Board of Selectmen will meet again on April 26th. The Library Board of Trustees held their April meeting in the Simone Room at the library. The board began with a report from Norma Logan, the head of Literacy Services, then moved on to personnel and programming reports, a maintenance repair update, and a Friends of the Library update. In old business, the board discussed MA H4120, an act modernizing library access to electronic books and audiobooks. They also discussed trustee bylaws and policies in the 2022 through 2026 strategic plan. The next Library Board of Trustees meeting will be May 10th. The final meeting of the night was the Trails Advisory Committee. They covered a number of upcoming events, including an Eagle Scout project and Work Day on April 24th, and an Neponset River Watershed Earth Day event at Willet Pond on the 23rd. Following the event, the board discussed a trail mapping app, community preservation and open space master plan projects, and a web page expansion. To end the meeting, the committee discussed completed Norwood trail walks and trail reports. The next meeting for the Trails Advisory Committee will be later in April. Wednesday afternoon, the Finance Commission met with Town Manager Tony Mazzucco, Assistant Town Manager Michael Rosen, and Director of Finance Meg LeMay to discuss the FY 2023 water and sewer and Norwood Light broadband budgets. The group also discussed the timeline for the town meeting budget book. The town administration also unpacked town meeting warrants for the commission. The Finance Commission will meet again in the coming weeks. The school committee met at the Savage Center Wednesday evening. The board was thrilled to welcome NHS students to participate in a mock meeting as NPS superintendent and school committee members. This activity is in partnership with Student Government Day organized by Town Hall. Students represented the board as follows: Junior Mara Beads as the superintendent, Junior Madeline O'Keefe as school committee chair, Junior Samantha Megan, and Sophomore Ananya Ramurthy as school committee members.
So we would like to show a policy about student involvement in decision making, and we would like the high school administrative team to recommend that 5 student advisory members come from the current group of students involved in student government at the high school. The members would include the 9 through 12 vice presidents and the grade 11 president. Alternatives to this makeup could be considered as long as the student is an elected student government position.
The group discussed the language and process necessary to elect student representatives to work with the school committee for the 2023 through 2024 school year.
I would like to make a motion to continue this student decision making after April vacation with Dr. Brown. Mr. Brown.
And then you can ask if anybody seconds the motion.
Does anyone second the motion?
I second the motion. Okay. And then you can say, is there any further discussion?
Is there any further discussion?
So you can say, seeing none, let's take a vote. Say seeing none, let's take a vote.
Seeing none, let's take a vote.
So all in favor?
All in favor?
Okay, so that passes 3-0.
All right.
Okay.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
The students voted to work with Strategic Initiatives Director Dana Brown after April vacation to work on language for the student representative applications. The student board adjourned and took a picture with the school committee. Great job, students. Superintendent Thompson provided updates in his superintendent's report, announcing that a new principal will be selected for the Willet preschool. Norwood will welcome Michael Bollier to the Willet as principal starting in September. Superintendent Thompson also gave kudos to NHS Principal Hugh Gallen for recently winning a prestigious award.
Last bit of news, big congratulations to Dr. Galligan. Dr. Galligan, for those who don't know, is the principal of Norwood High School, and he was just named the 2022 Massachusetts High School Principal of the Year. So congratulations to him. That is a huge accomplishment and recognition, not just for Mr. Galligan, but for the entire high school. When I was fortunate enough to be named the 2010 Middle School Principal of the Year, it really was a collaborative effort and reflects as much on the person who leads as the people in the classrooms doing the work. So the growth at Norwood High School over the last 5 years has been absolutely incredible. The instructional practice, we've always had great caring teachers at the high school. The instructional practice and the commitment to improving the practice really has made this an exceptional place to work and learn. And if you have not read the last NEASC report, it is, again, a testament to the work of people in that school.
General Manager Tony Mizuko and facility leaders Paul Riccardi and Chris Folan presented a facilities update to the committee. The committee thanked the facilities department for around-the-clock efforts to keep the Norwood schools clean. Paul Riccardi and Chris Folan thanked their team for their exceptional work day after day.
That 2,600 work orders does not include capital projects. So this year we updated all the card swipe entry systems in all the schools. We are doing LED upgrades of corridor lights in all of the elementary schools. We're doing changing fixtures out in the bathrooms in 4 of the elementary schools. That is the same guys that respond to work orders, but those jobs aren't work orders, they're projects. So these guys do under Chris Folan, who meets with them every morning at 6 and sets up the day and the week, and it's always subject to change and response. These guys are doing unbelievable work for this town, and they worked every day. The custodians and the maintenance guys have been in these buildings every day since COVID, non-stop. A lot of them have not taken their vacation time, especially in the 2-man buildings, because with COVID and with the issues over lunch and separating the kids and eating in multiple places, it's been a huge workload for them. And you know, we haven't heard one complaint. These guys just come in every day and do their job. And I'm just going to let Chris tell you what he's been telling me for 15 years.
I won't beat a dead horse, but for instance, tomorrow morning, the guys, facilities guys, licensed electrician, plumber, 2 craftsmen, locksmiths, are going to the high school to move all the band equipment to Blue Hill Country Club for the Jazz Festival. So there's another thing these guys do that I don't think it goes unnoticed. Not on our end it doesn't, but, and there's never a complaint. So we have a bunch of tradesmen that are out there doing anything. We went in and out of Boston on a couple of occasions in the middle of COVID and the epidemic to the Greater Boston Food Bank for the Mustang Food Pantry. Went up there and we were at the schools on several occasions helping the food service people give out the free lunches. And these guys never complain. And the custodians, the same thing. It's a fantastic group of guys and gal. We can't forget Linda. We have Linda Pungitori now, and she's great. So, but they're great. And Tony alluded to Wellesley. I would take our group, and we did a lot of work behind the scenes, Paul and I, getting this off the ground a couple of years ago with the help of Tony and God rest his soul, Dave Hajar. We wanted to handpick the team, and I told Paul we could get this thing going and it will work, it'll be a success if we can put the right players in. And we got it done, and these guys, we had guys that worked, a licensed plumber, Steve Eckhart, who was with the company for 30, 40 years, J.C. Jacobs, and he left to come over on board with us. And we stole Paul Campbell from his alarm company. Those two guys had more knowledge of the town buildings, not the school buildings, than we did, because that, you know, J.C. Jacobs was doing all the plumbing work. So all that added to the team, the crew, and I'd put them up against any facilities team that there is. And you could, I would tell you, bet your money on them, because they're that good. And we can rely on them for anything. Snow removal, they're the guys out there in the trucks plowing snow, 2 o'clock in the morning. So they do it all, and they never complain. So
the board discussed the long-term agenda and superintendent goals. Director of Strategic Initiatives Dana Brown presented information to the group regarding the William James College partnership. Before adjournment, the group discussed school committee goals for the upcoming school year. The board meets again on May 4th. The Community Preservation Committee took up CPA warrant articles and motions at their meeting on Wednesday night. The committee reviewed project information worksheets and discussed the project closeout process. They also reviewed the FY23 estimated revenue proposal. The Community Preservation Committee will meet again on April 27th. And for complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government Channel or watch on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break for the Rec Department's Easter egg hunt and an event at the library. Welcome back. Every spring we look forward to the Rec Department's Easter egg hunt. Last weekend, families explored the Kathy Shikoy Field at Norwood High School for goodies left by the Easter Bunny himself. Kids gathered Easter eggs filled with candy and took home baskets full of treats. Great job by all, and thanks to the Rec Department for organizing a memorable morning for the families of Norwood. Last weekend, Norwood author Tom O'Connell presented to an audience at the library. In his presentation about World War II era Norwood, Tom spoke with the audience about what it was like growing up in a small Catholic Charities orphanage in Norwood from 1937 to 1946. The presentation included readings from Tom's memoir, The O'Connell Boys, Educating the Wolf Child, followed by discussion prompted by the audience. The full presentation is airing on NCM's community channel. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend.